Hello to everybody watching and listening, and once again, welcome back to some Mechabellum. This is actually a rematch against apparently someone on Twitch. He wasn't streaming at the time, if memory serves, but yeah. I lost a match before that. We played some big macho tanks and fortresses, and I was completely demolished. I was kinda trying to go for carrier Arclights, and then in the free unit round, a fortress dropped. Didn't really go well for me. His fortress is leveled. He had the... he was starting with quick supply, and he was just pushing me from the start of the match to the end, basically. Anyway, this is then the rematch, and my opponent, despite playing some very honorable standard in the previous match, he's now going for some very, in my opinion, bad-mannered aggro. Though I will not blame anyone. Well, how should I put this? I hate aggro, but I will not say that everybody should stop aggro. I wish everybody would stop aggro, and I think I will be very happy for aggro nerfs. But I will not be someone who says that people should stop playing aggro. If they like it, they should play it. But personally, I think aggro is a menace. Anyway, enough whining about aggro. My opponent here, Steel Boss, very fortunately funneling towards the tanks and not funneling towards the tower. However, this force is not quickly enough at the other tower to do anything really to it. Also, Steel Balls, I didn't know this, but apparently with the 17% extra health, they can survive 2 marksman shots. So this marksman here, trying to do its best, taking down another Steel Ball and shoot once more. Yeah. However, this marksman not exactly doing much, but it's now starting to shoot these crawlers. Couldn't take down that Steel Ball. Steel Ball tanking. Some of these tanks unfortunately going after the tower. I think if all of the Steel Balls had stood and fought, it would have ended much better. Now there's just too many fangs for these tanks to kill. Tanks are amazing against fangs, assuming both units have like no or equal attacks, but not in this particular case. He of course gets the turn 2 aggro Rhino drop, which is probably something I want to say almost evil. There's not really much that I can do, like which of these units can counter Rhinos. So I take the Rhinos as well, putting one in the flank here because there's currently nothing to protect, and putting the other one here, but I think I'm selling it. Yeah, I sold, or rather I remember that I sold it. I'm instead getting an Overlord because these are the only units that shoot up, and though he might add some more anti-air, he didn't this turn. He instead went in on more Steel Balls and more Rhinos in the flank, and if you have watched this channel for probably any amount of time, you know that Rhinos in the flanks are my weak spot. I hate them. Fortunately, this Overlord retargets and immediately takes down these units. He added some crawlers here to be safe from the Rhino, and that is exactly what happens. This Rhino here not accomplishing much, instead just getting killed by crawlers. His Rhino here moving in. One crawler distracting the Overlord, and look at how many shots this Overlord is not hitting. It is terrible. In the end, my opponent takes this tower super easily. However, now it's still the issue of the Overlord, because the only units that the Overlord can address are now moving in on the Overlord without any cover and getting absolutely hammered by AoE. These units are having a really terrible time, being swarmed on all sides, basically, from my opponent's aggro units, and focusing on a tower that is level 2, and they cannot take it down anymore. This Overlord, however, is now laughing because, well, look at that shooting gallery. Which also means it gets to level. Is there... Ah, there's still some crawlers, okay. And I win turn number 2 despite my opponent getting a really good unit drop. tech specialist on both sides. I'm thinking what to do. I am holding for now, but this was like winning with an overlord being the only being the only thing that survives, because my opponent has no anti-air basically. It means that this is not going to be a sustainable win in each subsequent turn. My opponent is leveling these steel balls. I'm getting a scorpion to blow up the steel balls and the rhino. I'm kind of split on scorpions here. I also sold the rhino. Because, how should I put this? Scorpions, if they get pushed real hard, they can only ever shoot once. And they are not worth it if they can only ever shoot once, unless they do the biggest connection of their lives. This scorpion was doing some really good damage. And it is because everything was stuck. I think the key is getting Rhino Whirlwind. Because the Rhino Whirlwind will simply clear the path for the steel balls and everything else to engage and destroy the opposing scorpions with the steel balls and basically everything else. And that is how you neutralize scorpion defense, from what I can tell. You put more chaff in the way, and you put chaff and everything clear on your rhinos. I didn't even pay attention to what was picked up, but it looks like double deployment specialist. Yeah, it's really good. Nothing's really happening on the flank. I'm still leaving these tanks here because I know that my opponents want to get cute and like stormcaller this tower. That is, I think that is something that from a game that I lost in recent times, because I sold my units here and then my opponent just put a stormcaller here and instantly sniped the tower. I am, however, thinking, should I even still defend this tower if my opponent really pushes it? Yeah, let's just say that that is something that's going to happen. I will eventually abandon this tower and focus entirely on this side. My opponent is adding more phoenixes here. I'm still... no, I've actually spent my money. What did I even spend it on? I spent it on a scorpion here. And I'm putting a shield here because I think one combat power dropped recently. I also think I added some more chaff. Yeah, these are new as far as I can tell. Some more chaff in order to slow down the progress of these steel balls and these steel balls. And some more marksmen. Because phoenixes exist on this board. And marksmen, in my opinion, are better than phoenixes, assuming they have the time, or rather the clear line of fire to deal with them. These phoenixes still stuck on crawlers, but they will in time find some more juicy targets. On the other hand, this side, nothing new. The phoenixes are now locked on the overlord, which means it's only a matter of time. My opponent's ground army basically has gotten annihilated. However, this phoenix retargets and another phoenix retargets, and now the tower debuff is in, which means that my forces are suddenly not doing any damage anymore, and this turn ends up being a win for my opponent. Not a huge win, and similar to me with the overlord, it is a win based on air power and basically nothing else, but it is certainly one more win for my opponent. Alright, round number 5. And I'm looking at these options and I'm not really liking anything particularly. I think if I had to go again, I would pick the shield and put it over Overlord. But I do end up picking the improved firepower control system. And I'm putting it on this Scorpion, I think, simply so it can one-shot the Rhino here and be done with it. I'm also adding some Wasps, because, well, what does my opponent really have against Wasps here? He has some Fangs, he has a good amount of Phoenixes, but they still will waste a lot of shots. My opponent is going for Replicate on the Crawlers, and he's putting some Crawlers in my flank. What did I do? I think I just leveled some units before. My opponent is also putting more Replicate Crawlers here. But I'm not entirely sure if that's going to do much. This is where the module went. So now this tower is getting pushed by some replicate crawlers that can deal with my crawlers here that don't have a level, and thus will just get replicated on and die. I'm not entirely sure how the fight goes with a level 2 crawler against a level 1 crawler with replicate, actually. I'm just putting some more tanks here to slow this down. The slower this fight goes, the more value my scorpions and my overlord will get, and these marksmen as well. And I didn't even realize this. I also put some wasps in his face here, because they can just snipe the phoenixes. And then they will delay these phoenixes from doing anything useful. Replicate crawlers here are kinda getting shut down. However, on this side, the crawlers are moving in. And that is a lot of crawlers, and not a lot standing in their way that can deal with them. The good thing is that basically the fight on this side is already over, and there's not really much left. However, there still may be enough left for my opponent. Overlord finally engaging on some phoenixes. Marksman should be putting in his part of the job, or putting in his work as well. Yeah, it's going on these units. Unfortunately, tower still goes down. That said, it is one phoenix. There's a tank in the way. A tank unit, I should say, not an actual tank. And a marksman behind it.